Today we are going to do a lesson which I think every guitarist that's either starting out or wanting to learn how to read music really needs to get under their fingers. It's not hard, but it's a fundamental lesson that actually teaches you about 5 different things which are all really important and really useful. What we're going to do is we're going to simply learn and play all the natural notes in the first position. Now the first position is here where your first finger is on the 1st fret. 5th position would be your first finger on the 5th fret, etc., etc. But when you play all the natural notes, that means all the notes that are the letters. No sharps, no flats. So you've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now obviously we start on our E string, so we're starting from E. But it really doesn't matter where we're starting from because we want to learn all these notes. Now it teaches you a bunch of things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this should be played first, and then I'm going to explain all the things that it teaches you. So we go E, F with our first finger, G on the 3rd fret with our 3rd finger. Now here's the trick. First finger, always the 1st fret. 2nd fret, always the 2nd finger. 3rd fret, always the 3rd finger. 1, 2, 3. We're not using our pinky, which is kind of weird in a guitar exercise. Normally we try to get people to use their pinkies, but in this exercise, it's all about fingers 1, 2, and 3 on frets 1, 2, and 3. Don't let your fingers stray onto different frets. That's not the exercise. E, F, G. Now instead of going up here to A, we're now going over to the A string. That teaches you the distance of 5 frets or a fourth, a perfect fourth, between each of these strings. Until we get to the G string, of course, and then the distance to the next string is only 4 frets, which makes it a third, a major third. We'll learn these things more and more as we go along, but these are the fundamentals that we're learning. The distance between these strings, 5 frets, 4 between the G and B. E, F, G, A string, B, you play that with your 2nd finger. C, D string, E with your 2nd finger. F, G, A, straight to B on the B string, C, D, E, F, G. Go backwards. Backwards is where it really starts to sink in. G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. As well as teaching your fingers to take their appropriate frets, and you're improving your dexterity, you're learning where all those natural notes are on the first 3 frets in the first position. If you're using the right fingers, you can play these without looking at them because you can tell by feel what fret you're on. So if you know that the F is on the 3rd fret of the D string, you play it with your 3rd finger on the D string, that's the F. You don't need to look at it. And where that comes in really handy is when you're starting to read music. When you're starting to read notes off the treble clef, you can see a note, identify it, and play it on the guitar without having to look away from the page. Now a lot of the challenge when you're first starting to read music is that you're looking away. You're looking back to the guitar, you're looking back to the page, you're losing your place. It's cumbersome. If you know how to play all these notes by name without looking at the guitar, that's half the battle. So then we're reading notes, we're saying these names as we go. When you start playing these notes, make sure you say the names because that's also going to help you memorize where those notes are. And on the way back, you'll start by trying to do the backwards alphabet, but there'll come a point where you're no longer thinking backwards alphabet, you're just naming the notes as you go. And that's when you know that you've got those notes memorized. Finally, the thing that this is teaching you, even though you don't realize it, is the pattern of intervals. And what I mean by that is that the gap between E and F is 1 fret or a half step. The gap between F and G, 2 frets or a whole step. So you've got half step, whole step, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, B to C is a half step, C to D is a whole step, D to E, whole step, E to F, half step, and so on. that pattern of intervals, when you start from your C, you're playing the C major scale, because the C major scale is the only major scale that doesn't have any sharps or flats. So that's what we're playing here, because we're not playing any sharps or flats. So we're going C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and on and on and on. So that pattern of intervals from the C goes whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And that is the pattern of the major scale, which I will put a link to a lesson where I go through that in more detail. When you learn the major scale, you learn the pattern of intervals. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. That's what we're learning here in this exercise as well. Whether you realize it or not, it teaches you so many things. As well as all that, there's one other thing. Whether you're using a pick or your fingers like I am here now, as you play those notes, you are learning how to not play any of the other strings. So with my right hand and with parts of my left hand, I'm muffling all the other strings so I don't hear them. Otherwise you get this. And you hear all that extraneous noise. But if you can touch all the other strings, with doesn't matter what you use, parts of your left hand, parts of your right hand, then you get a much cleaner sound, and it teaches you the magical dark art of string dampening, which is how great experienced players can make something sound really, really clean, because they're not hearing, you're not playing any other notes, you're not hearing any other notes that are not intentional. And that's what string dampening is all about. Just taking out all that other noise, making sure that the only note you want to hear is the note that you're playing deliberately. So many things this exercise teaches you. I hope you found it helpful. Please let me know how you go. It's one of the most fundamental and helpful exercises I think any guitar player can take on, whether they're at the beginner level or whether you're just starting to read music, or if you just want something different to challenge you and to put into your practice routine. It gets very easy very quickly, so it's quite rewarding. Let me know how you go. Thanks for watching. See you here next time.